Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored to be here in this very beautiful site now. It's very impressive. Being the first time here now, I just feel like in a very special place and with a very distinguished audience. So I'm giving an update insight how do we see the world, the very fast-changing world, from the point of view of a country which is the size of a city. 2.3 million people, at the same time a member of the European Union and a member of NATO. So we are allies, United States and Latvia. And I'm extremely glad to be here in Washington, and I'm going to have official meetings with the administration and the representatives of the Congress. I will also speak at the celebration of 50th anniversary of an NGO called Joint Baltic-American Committee. This is more than just an anniversary. It's a story of resilience, of hope. It's a story of steadfastness of values of American policy over a half century. A very special success story. It took 50 years for Latvia to regain independence. 50 long years of oppression, hope, and struggle for freedom. During all that time, the Latvian embassy here in Washington continued to work. During all that time, our cause of freedom was supported by the United States, and Latvians will always be grateful for that. During the 20 years of our regained independence, we have done spectacularly well. We are allies in NATO, as I mentioned before. We are part of the European Union, and Latvia firmly stands for the same values as our strategic partner, the United States of America. Strong transatlantic partnership has been and remains the most effective way of approaching the realities of the modern world. I truly believe that vibrant cooperation between the European Union and the United States is equally needed on both sides of the Atlantic. The greatest successes we have achieved together. Ladies and gentlemen, just before Washington, I visited Michigan. We have a fruitful long-term, since 1993, cooperation with the National Guard of Michigan. This is an example of how close and effective is the cooperation in the security area. Despite of budgetary hardship, we are steadfast in our determination to contribute to the mission in Afghanistan. And by the way, there was a combat unit formed by Latvian American soldiers in one combat unit in an operation in Afghanistan, with its highest level of trust and confidence to each other. As some of the generals said, it's brotherhood. It's even more than trust and confidence. Latvia contributes to ISAF not only by military means. The port of Riga is the leading transit point for the transport of U.S. non-military cargoes to Afghanistan through a logistic network known as a Northern Distribution Network. Success in Afghanistan will be defined by the Afghani people, not anybody else. That means reconciliation after all these long years of war. That means building a state that can be self-sustainable. We care about Afghanistan, but nobody has more interest in successful development of the Afghani state than the Afghani people themselves. Therefore, our mission is to help the Afghani people to assume full responsibility of economic development and security of their state. Latvia is strongly committed to this mission. Ladies and gentlemen, we are appalled by the violence that the civilians of Libya have been subjected to by the regime of Gaddafi. We cannot idly stand by when freedom-loving people are cold-bloodedly killed on the streets of Libyan cities. The events in and around Libya during the previous days have shown that NATO undeniably provides the best toolbox for dealing with crisis. We, all the allies, have to work together to keep it that way. This is not an easy task, and that's not an easy operation, but we are helped by the outspoken support of the countries in the region and the international society as a whole. we are supported by practical involvement of all our partners. Just a few days ago, NATO took over the operation of ensuring the no-fly zone over Libya, in accordance with the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1973. NATO will also take care of implementing the arms embargo, and it's our responsibility as the allies to work on easing the humanitarian situation on the ground. We are fully behind this NATO decision. At the same time, we have to be clear that it is up to the people of Libya to decide their future. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to have a transatlantic approach to such issues as the relations with the Russian Federation. This is an area where there are synergies in approaches by Latvia and the United States. The reset policy that the Obama administration had pursued with Russia has yielded positive results. And not only in the area of arms control, even though that is the most visible outcome of these efforts. Reset policy has had an enabling effect also on the way Russia is prepared to deal with other European countries. During the year 2010, Latvia has achieved significant breakthrough in the development of good neighborly relations with Russia, based on mutual advantage and mutual respect. It is no secret that for a long time our bilateral relations with Russia were distorted by mutual suspicion. While there are still issues we see differently and policies we cannot agree on, we have started a proper political dialogue at the highest political level. We were able to move forward on a number of long overdue agreements between our countries. These agreements and business forums that took place as a part of my visit to Moscow last December opened new venues also for economic cooperation. The visit was an opportunity to ease some of the tensions which relate to the issues that have traditionally been difficult to discuss with Russia. For example, history of the 20th century. President Medvedev and I agreed on launching a joint commission of historians to study the difficult aspects of the history of our two neighboring countries. I'm sure that step by step, we can enhance mutual trust between Latvia and Russia to the benefit of the two nations, but also to the Europe as a whole. Continued dialogue with Russia will be essential to realize the potential created in 2010. I consider the official visit of December as a first step forward to confidence building and towards a more fruitful relationship. Continuing the positive impetus of the visit will be the real test of sustainability of our efforts. We have to keep working on the list of bilateral agreements. We have to maintain the intensity of the political dialogue, and we have to keep on discussing the issues that both parties find difficult. Latvia is ready to be an active and constructive partner in the European Union-Russia and NATO-Russia dialogue and cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, one challenge that has steadily dominated our political agendas in the European Union, the United States, and other places of the globe is dealing with the economic crisis. Latvia was arguably the hardest hit country, and you remember Latvia was on the front pages a couple of years ago as a bad example. Since the downturn of our economic cycle coupled with the global financial crisis in 2009. Then we embarked on a journey of tough austerity program with a clear view on bringing our public finances back to sustainable levels by 2012 and fulfilling the Maastricht criteria to join the euro currency in 2014. Of course, some of you could ask, how wise is it to join the euro at present moment, especially if we take into account the challenges that the Eurozone is currently facing? But I'm sure we have taken the right decision. There are two main reasons for that. First, fulfilling the Maastricht criteria, having sustainable budget deficit, public debt, inflation, and interest rates are good for our economy. In the long term, it means more competitive economy, more investments, and more jobs. Secondly, I am confident that the Eurozone will meet the challenges. Just before the visit to the United States, I was in Brussels and talked to the President of the European Council. We discussed the measures such as so-called Euro Plus Pact to bring all the Eurozone countries back on track. And Latvia is supporting this Euro Plus Pact. Latvia has accumulated some experience in overcoming a significant economic crisis, and there are lessons that can be learned from our approach. We have stayed the course of fiscal consolidation and budget austerity, but we also implemented widespread reforms in public administration, cutting costs and the red tape to increase both affordability and administrative effectiveness. One such example is reducing the number of municipalities almost 5 times. We underwent tough reforms in healthcare and education, and extremely simplified procedures to register and start up businesses. As a result, we have returned to steady growth. Our exports have been reached at pre-crisis levels. Our public finances are on a good track to long-term sustainability, with a target of consolidated budget deficit under 3% of GDP by the next year. Latvia can be proud for its achievements in reversing one of the worst economic crises in Europe. Our economic partners are positive about our experiences and resolve. The course of recovery was supported by the people of Latvia during the general elections in last October, when the incumbent government received the majority of seats in the parliament. The year 2010 was a year of turnaround back to economic development for Latvians. However, we are not exuberant about our success in dealing with the crisis because of 2 reasons. First, I have to admit that this process has been harsh on our people, who have showed great determination and resolve. As in all economic crises of such a level, the positive macroeconomic trends are not yet felt by our households. Secondly, there is still a lot to be done in the international level to prevent some of the factors that led to the global financial crisis. And this is one area where it is absolutely necessary for the European Union and United States to work together. It is obvious that if you have a global financial system, there are certain issues that should be dealt with globally. I am optimistic that we can achieve that. At least at the European level, we have taken definite steps toward better financial and economic governance. Ladies and gentlemen, European Union, United States Energy Council is a promising transatlantic forum for dealing with energy issues. Energy security, diversification of energy, supply routes and sources, clean energy technologies should be the main focus areas of the Council. However, we have work to be done, and also bilaterally between Latvia and the United States. And I would like to mention a few examples. Diversification of energy market is one of the priorities of Latvia. Cooperation between our countries on energy diversification could bring significant added value. In the Baltic area, there is a need for a more diversified gas market. Latvia has proposed to build a regional liquefied natural gas LNG terminal that could act as an alternate supplier for the Baltic states. There are cooperation possibilities between Latvian and American companies in implementation of this project. A longer-term approach to gas diversification is exploring shale gas deposits in Latvia, another excellent opportunity for cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, being from Latvia, a country that has endured enormous suffering under the foreign occupation and tyranny, I can say forcefully that we have a duty to uphold the values of democracy and the rule of law. If any nation has chosen to embark on the road of these values, we must do everything in our power to assist. I truly believe that to be effective in this process, we need to work on areas where we have the most expertise and where we can make the most effective difference. For Latvia, such an area are the countries in the Eastern Partnership Program of the European Union. These countries are working on implementing similar reforms that were undergone by Latvia in its recent past. Therefore, we have been sharing and are ready to continue to share our lessons learned in these processes. Our success stories and our mistakes can be of great value to countries that have taken up the road of building value-based institutions and societal processes. I believe it is in common interest of the transatlantic partners to expand cooperation and complementary activities in this region. If we are to implement such a value-based approach, it will be much more successful if we do it together. Ladies and gentlemen, I just described only some of the issues that affect transatlantic relationship: security, economy, energy, common approach and cooperation with the countries to the east of the European Union. This is not an exclusive list. We are living in a fast-changing world. Opportunities are rising. Complexities and challenges are expanding. If we do not keep strengthening our transatlantic alliance, if we do not work on addressing these challenging issues together, we will be overrun by the events. We cannot afford that. We have to work together. It's just a brief update of Latvian view and open to your questions. Thank you very much for your attention.